So, how good is Google's Nano Banana AI image model? There's a ton of hype right now on Nano Banana, both if you search YouTube, Google, and really anywhere online. And instead of me trying to rush out a video and kind of capitalize on this hype, I really wanted to spend some time on some real world applications that you can use Google's Nano Banana AI image model for. So, be sure to stick around for the full video. And if this is your first time to the channel, welcome. My name is Ryan, and I help business owners, executives, and creators leverage AI to scale content, build trust, and grow a strong personal brand online. And if you want to know my favorite AI tools, prompts, and even some of my cool automation templates, be sure to get my free AI Marketing Essentials Guide. You can find the link for this in the video description or pinned comment below. Now, I'm not going to get into all the boring details of Google's Nano Banana. I want to show you how to actually use it in this tutorial, but I will leave this reference and other relevant references in the video description below if you are curious about this. I do first want to say though, on the LM Arena leaderboard, I will leave this website in the description below. Google's Nano Banana or Gemini 2.5 Flash image generation model is ranking on top for both text to image and then also image edit. You'll see it's above Flux 1. I think that's the model Grok still uses to generate images. GPT Image 1, that's what GPT 4o uses obviously within ChatGPT, and some of these other image models here. So I wanted to first call that out, that thousands of community members are testing Google's Nano Banana model and then ranking it above the current AI image models. So there's a few ways you can access Google's Nano Banana AI image model. I'm sure there's 100 wrappers right now, but we're going to keep it to a few options. Number one is Google AI Studio. You'll notice on the website, I'm getting prompted to try Nano Banana right here, so they make it really easy to find. Or if you don't see this for some reason, click Generate Media, and then you should see it right here. Or in the top right, where you can choose between different models, notice how there's Nano Banana right here. And something important to call out is that technically this is under the Gemini 2.0 Flash model umbrella. You'll see it's Gemini 2.5 Flash preview, image preview. So it is under that umbrella. They have some pricing information here. So long story short, I'd recommend just starting with Google AI Studio. You can also use the Google Gemini app, gemini.google.com, and it's just under 2.5 Flash. So if I go into Gemini, click Tools, you'll notice the banana icon is already right there for Nano Banana, create images, and we can start creating images right here. Now, I will say your usage is more limited inside the Gemini app, especially if you're on the free plan like I am on this Google account, versus what you will get with Google AI Studio. Now, it's limited in general, but from my experience, you do get a little more usage on Google AI Studio versus what you get in the Gemini app. So now let's explore some real world use cases for Google's Nano Banana. And no, I'm not going to get into all these random extravagant examples that you've probably seen on other YouTube videos by now, such as adding a banana costume over my headshot. Let's start with something simple here. And this is actually improving a professional headshot. So let's say you have a headshot somewhere, but you want to make a more, let's say, professional profile picture for Twitter or X, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. Let's say I want to change this background of the Des Moines skyline. And let's say I want something, maybe a light blue background, or maybe I want it a shade darker. Maybe I want a green background, right? This is one of the strongest elements of Google's Nano Banana model. If I click into this headshot looks exactly similar to my original headshot. Versus if I were to try this on ChatGPT or Grok or other AI image models, it would more likely than not morph or alter my original headshot and screw up some other things. Now, they are getting better on those other platforms, but I wanted to just show you a quick example of where Google's Nano Banana really excels, and that is keeping a lot of these elements the same in your original uploaded images. Let's take this a step further. Now, Lee Corso just did his final pick for College Game Day. I actually saw this picture on my LinkedIn feed, and I thought this was genius. This is from a company who cropped their logo inside with Lee Corso holding it up. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to take that and use my AI Marketing Insiders community logo and post it on my platforms. So I uploaded that image along with my logo, and I said, I need you to replace the green logo that Lee Corso is holding up with my logo instead. Make sure you use the same colors and branding on my AI logo. And here is what Nano Banana came up with. and I really like that image, right? These types of images do very well on social media, and I actually applied that to a business use case here. So if I pull up my Twitter account, I ended up posting it on my Twitter account, my LinkedIn, and some other platforms. I just think things like this are genius when you're capitalizing off of trends like Lee Corso's final college game day pick. And so if we want to take this a step further in terms of capitalizing off of trends, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift just got engaged, right? And so I was seeing this meme pop up everywhere. So here's one, for example, $7 iced honey lavender latte that tastes like grass, me. And then obviously it's Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift locking eyes right there. Well, let's say I want to capitalize off of this and make a meme for my own business use case. So I attached this logo here and I said, edit this meme with something catchy to encourage people to join my AI community. And then I copy and pasted all of the details inside my AI community right here, which, by the way, it's only $5 to join. Shameless plug. I'll leave that link in the description below if you're interested in checking it out. But back to this use case here, I pasted all the information for my community, and then it came back with this. So it came back with all of this text and the fire emojis, and like I would never post this, obviously. So then I went ahead and started making improvements here. I said, only include the white text right here, and then it came up with something that made no sense, and I kept going back and forth, and eventually it came up with this. $5 a month AI marketing insiders, build authority and grow business. So I'd probably remove build authority and grow business. And then Taylor Swift, me realizing I can automate content and get results with AI. That's actually not that bad. That's something that I would post if I'm trying to promote my community and encourage people to join. So those are just a few, simpler examples of how we can actually use Google's Nano Banana to real world use cases. So let's take it a step further and look at YouTube thumbnails. So this YouTube thumbnail was from Greg Eisenberg. I do need a thumbnail once I publish this video on Google's Nano Banana. So I uploaded this image from Greg Eisenberg's channel along with one of my headshots. And I said, replace the headshot in the YouTube thumbnail with my attached headshot. Keep everything else in the thumbnail the same, including size and dimensions. And unfortunately, on the first try, it did not do this correctly. The text is still right. It threw my headshot in there, but obviously that's not the correct image dimensions for a YouTube thumbnail. I need 1280 by 720. So then I instructed it again, and then here it came up with the same thing. It did not do this correctly. And then I threw in a new headshot, and what's funny about this is when I uploaded a new headshot instead, it used the correct image dimensions, but then threw in two pictures of me right here. So there definitely are some errors here, some things that are off when you're trying to edit certain things within YouTube thumbnails, at least just from my experience here. So I gave this another chance in a new chat with a different thumbnail on Nano Banana. The face is obviously harder to see there, but you see the face right here. Uploaded another headshot, and I said the exact same prompt, replace the headshot in the thumbnail with my attached headshot. This is what it came back with. Honestly, I don't think anything changed here. The face looks exactly the same. Obviously, the text and everything else is the same. And then I said, make sure the headshot in the thumbnail is mine. So it came back, and again, that face looks the exact same as the original thumbnail. So I don't know what it is. I've seen other tutorials on Nano Banana of people successfully editing YouTube thumbnails. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm screwing something up here. But when I compare this to, ChatGPT's 4.0 image generator, which I actually created this back in like April or May at this point, where I replaced my headshot with a Mr. Beast headshot, and it came up with this. I mean, this is not even comparable to what Google's Nano Banana is doing. And I know these are only a few examples, so I think I need to just keep playing around with editing thumbnails like that. But anyways, if we look at another example here, I actually did this for a client of mine. I basically took one of my blog posts, uploaded my logo, the company logo, and said, I want to create an infographic with my logo and branding based on this content. And here is what it came back with. Now, I would use a different logo. It is the transparent version of that logo, so it looks a little off there. The text doesn't look right. Things are misspelled. Very unprofessional here. And then I said, make the infographic more visually appealing and make sure everything fits inside one image. This is a little better. The branding is on. Some of the text is spelled correctly now, but it still looks off. This isn't something that I would feel comfortable posting on my client's social media pages. And then I said, use this logo instead. And again, same thing. It's a little better, but still something that I would not post. And in another example, I took an existing infographic from Google Images, gave it the other logo from my client, and I basically said, create an infographic on the topic of cybersecurity tips for dentists that's appealing. So it took that, added my logo here, added a little branding elements, but not as much as I was hoping for, then kept everything else the same right here. And then I basically just said, make sure the entire infographic is in my branding, based off of my logo. And it did not really, do that like I instructed it to. So again, I don't understand why it's not always following directions, because every other video that you seem to see here on Nano Banana is like claiming this thing is God's gift to the earth. And honestly, there are still a lot of flaws with it. When I compare it to my results here that I got using ChatGPT's 4.0 image generator, where I uploaded my client's logo, gave it the exact same prompt as I just showed you in this example right here, notice the difference in results. This is what I got on the first run of an infographic. That is something I would post on my client's social media accounts and then create different variations of that versus what I got with this other measly infographic. So again, I do need to probably spend more time playing around with my prompts and just tweaking various things, but not impressed if you get a little bit more complex in the type of images that you're trying to generate. So let's look at a few more real world business examples with Google's Nano Banana. And in this particular instance, I took a local window cleaning company called CJ's Windows. I uploaded their homepage of the website, I uploaded their logo, and then I found a window cleaning ad on Google Images that I wanted to use as a reference. And I basically said the following: generate an ad for my company, CJ's Windows Cleaning in Des Moines. I've attached my logo and website for reference. Make sure the new ad reflects my information. And this was the first iteration. And honestly, I was actually more impressed with this ad than I just showed you on those previous two examples. This is something I could definitely use. Now, obviously, I would want to add my number, add whatever offer I'm having in here, and whatever other content that I want to add on this business ad. But I was actually very impressed with this. And then I said, create another variation that displays more window cleaning. It took that window cleaning image on the homepage of the website that I attached, and then it made an ad based on that. So this example blew me away, honestly, when it came to creating like a social media ad or a graphic for a local window cleaning company. Now, another example here is a logo redesign. Another local client of mine called Tire Heroes, who's a mobile tire installation company. I took their existing logo, gave it this prompt right here, basically for a logo redesign, and it came up with this. Now, I'm not super impressed with that logo redesign, if I'm being completely honest. But again, I could always tweak around with the prompt and just come up with more variations. Then I said, now apply this logo to my van. And I uploaded a picture of one of the Tire Heroes service vans. And then here is what it came up with. It replaced this logo right here, but it did not replace the old logo right here. So again, there are little flaws with that when it came to replacing the logo on the van. So not too thrilled with the logo redesign element compared to what I was doing originally in ChatGPT's image model. Now, one last example I wanted to show you. Let's say I want to create podcast cover art. So I found this example on Google Images, not bad. And then I attached my logo of my AI community, and I basically gave it this prompt here about design eye-catching podcast cover art, 3000 by 3000 pixels, for a show titled The AI Rabbit Holes. Use futuristic visuals, blah, blah, blah. I can leave all these prompts in the comments below, or in the description below if you guys want to access them. But this one actually impressed me too. Here is the podcast cover art that it came up with. AI rabbit holes, innovation, technology, marketing. The branding's on point, the logo's on point, the text is spelled correctly, the image dimensions are correct. That is something I would definitely use right there on the first iteration. Then I said, add my name on here. Not a big fan of that, but back to this first one, that actually really impressed me. So those are a few more examples of using Google's Nano Banana for real world business application. Now, if you want to find more examples of what people are creating with Google's Nano Banana, I recommend coming over to X and typing in the search bar like Google Nano Banana, Google AI image models, something along those lines, and you'll see some of these examples that people are creating in the community. That one there is actually really cool. That's cool, right? But again, you'll see what I'm saying. Like, this stuff is cool and whatnot, but how does this actually move the needle for a real world business application? That's the question that I'm always asking myself whenever we see these revolutionary new AI models or new AI updates. Nano Banana happens to be the latest one, but you guys should always be asking yourself, like, yeah, this is cool. Oh my God, right? But how do I use this for a real world business application? That's what ultimately this comes down to. And unfortunately, most creators on YouTube and on social media are not creating content for that purpose. Now, something else I should mention is I'd recommend looking at some of the policy guidelines for Google's Nano Banana. I'll leave this in the video description below as well. This isn't too long, but long story short here, if you guys remember when Google Gemini had that, fiasco with their image generation model a year ago at this point, they are very strict on what you can and can't do with their AI image models. And one point I should make on that note is if you click a generated image from Nano Banana, you'll notice Google Gemini's watermark on the bottom right here. So just be cautious that whenever you're using these AI generated images from Nano Banana and other AI image models for that matter, there typically is a watermark. So when you upload something to LinkedIn, for instance, these social media platforms are getting better at detecting these. It will say this was AI generated. Just something you should be aware of if you're going to start posting these AI generated images across the internet in various spots. Now, when it comes to my final synopsis or analysis of Google's Nano Banana, I came across this Reddit thread that kind of summed it up really well. This guy said Nano Banana is fantastic, but significantly overhyped. Here's the reality. And this is from a graphic designer. And I like some of these comments here basically saying, like, you're judging this tool by the wrong standard. The hype isn't coming from graphic designers thinking it will replace Photoshop. It's coming from 99% of people who have never used Photoshop and now have a powerful tool at their fingertips. I completely agree with that, right? It's all about knowing what good looks like for a specific use case. In my community, I kind of elaborated on my initial thoughts of Google's Nano Banana, basically saying how it's a really good free AI image model, probably one of the best, if not the best, available today. It's a strong upgrade, but it's not magic. I just showed you several errors as I was going through those examples, and there were a lot of things wrong. It's very good at editing existing images with face and logo swaps. Now, that thumbnail example was not good, but that headshot example was a very good use case of that. So in terms of editing existing images, it is very good for that. Nothing revolutionary for generating AI images from scratch, and it is very fragile in longer edits and structured graphics that are more convoluted. I think a really good example of this was that infographic that I showed you for my client here when I was trying to generate something about how dental practices can use AI. This is this was a very in-depth prompt. There was a lot of content here, and it came up with this garbage infographic that I would never post anywhere. So that's what I mean by that. But regardless, if you guys have made it this far into the video, I truly appreciate you. I want to know your thoughts on Google's Nano Banana. Let me know in the comment section below. If you found value here in actual real world application, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, I hope you all have a great day.